Tonight, a nationwide manhunt finally over.
It has come to a conclusion. We have arrested John Williams.
The suspect accused of shooting and killing Corporal Eugene Cole is captured alive after 4 days on the run.
We got this whole huge state of Maine, and just to have it right there, it's pretty scary.
A community on edge.
Driving up and down the road, you see the big neon signs of manhunt underway, stay vigilant.
Now breathing a sigh of relief.
Just glad he got caught.
There is a certain amount of closure that comes with knowing justice will be served.
Right now, a sigh of relief across central Maine as a 4-day nationwide manhunt comes to an end. John Williams is being held at the Maine State Prison tonight.
He is accused of killing Corporal Eugene Cole early Wednesday morning before vanishing. Police say a search team spotted Williams in the woods near the Norridgewock and Fairfield town line, just about a half-mile off the highway.
Fox 23's Brad Rogers joins us at the former command post. And Brad, how did police finally catch their suspect?
Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
Holding up signs and sending a message, hundreds of thousands of protesters take to the streets to demand change and an end to gun violence in American schools. March for Our Lives demonstrations taking place across the country and the world today. Student survivors of the Parkland school shooting in Florida began their march today and spoke in our nation's capital. Demonstrations also continued here in Maine. New tonight, a viewer sending us this photo of an organization projecting property of the NRA onto the side of the Maine State House. And in Portland, thousands march calling for stricter gun legislation. Fox 23's Taylor Karen shows us why protesters are here speaking up.
New details tonight, 5 robberies in 5 days. The drive-thru of a Westbrook coffee shop is the most recent target in a string of armed robberies across Cumberland County. Fox 23's Sam Reed talks to owners of the Daily Grind who say they're shaken up about what's happened.
Oklahoma Teacher Walkout is an independent organization focused on salary increases for educators. The nonprofit Begging for Education says teachers in Oklahoma rank 50th in the nation for teacher pay. The starting salary is less than $32,000 and the maximum pay is $46,000. Teachers say it's time to stand up and demand action from state lawmakers.
I think we have surpassed the point of conversations, and I don't think that there's anything the legislators have provided us recently to give us any sort of hope that they're going to take actual actions this time.
If we strike, I double dare you to fire us. We'll just go to Texas. They're looking for new teachers.
Right now, there's no clear timetable for when this strike could start. Oklahoma lawmakers are working on a bill that would give teachers a raise, but it would also increase state taxes. Meanwhile, teachers in West Virginia are also on strike, which looks to enter its 8th day tomorrow. As Fox 23's Tony DeCopo reports, educators and lawmakers can't agree on salaries.
Good evening, everyone. Right now, that snow is still piling up as a blizzard officially hits Portland and a winter storm rips through New England.
We're almost 24 hours into the nor'easter, and it will still continue into tomorrow. Our Weather Authority team is on your side, tracking conditions from southern Maine through the mid-coast.
But first, let's go ahead and check in with Chief Meteorologist Charlie LaPresti. And Charlie, what's happening right now, and what should people expect when they wake up tomorrow? A community is coming together to make a difference for a little boy battling for his life.
And while the infant continues to fight, his loved ones are now paying it forward to help others in need.
Fox 23's Alexa Maslowski introduces us to the boy who some are now calling Super Y.
Now, Fox 23 News is on your side at 10.
Right now, Barbara Bush is getting ready to say goodbye. A spokesperson for the former First Lady says she will not seek any further medical treatment in the wake of her failing health. The 92-year-old will now focus on comfort care in her home in Houston, Texas. This comes after a series of recent hospitalizations. Bush first served as First Lady to her husband, President George H.W. Bush, from 1989 to 1993. The Bushes were also staples here in Maine, spending summers up in Kennebunkport at the Bushes' home on Walker's Point. Fox 23's Sam Reed is live in downtown Kennebunkport tonight. Sam, how is the community responding to the news?
Dan, well, May through October, Barbara and George H.W. Bush spend the warmer months living here in Kennebunkport, Maine, enjoying all that Maine has to offer. And some residents I spoke with tonight says the pair has done a lot for this community. The news of 92-year-old Barbara Bush's failing health has hit home at her home away from Texas in Kennebunkport, Maine.
I'm very, very sorry to hear it. And I've known him for a long time, and she's a great lady.
Sonny Hutchins formerly owned Port Lobster. The 63-year Kennebunkport resident says the former First Lady is a pillar in the community, touching the lives of everyone, making anyone feel like someone.
Very nice, very nice. Both of them, if you talked to them for a minute, you thought you'd known them all your life. And I've known them quite a few years.
Down the street at Colonial Pharmacy, a frequent stop of Barbara's, employees say her warmth made everyone feel good.
Everyone I know likes them.
They say Barbara made the effort to create memories with her part-time neighbors.
And when I had my daughter christened, Mrs. Bush held her. And George gave my daughter a president's pin, which I have passed on to her. That's pretty special.
Speaking of special occasions, Barbara and George H.W. are longtime friends of the owners of HP Provisions.
She'll tell you like it is without holding back.
So much so, they were witnesses to their marriage, which made national news.
Even though we've been friends with them for a long time, it really said that, wow, they really do think of us, too, as being pretty special in their lives as well as we are to them.
A montage of pictures hangs on the wall of this local general store. And while Barbara's health is fading, her friends say their memories will last a lifetime.
We're kind of rounding a corner, another corner of her life, and it'll be a big loss for us, but we also are so incredibly fortunate and blessed and honored that we've been a part of her life in a small, very small way.
Now, there are several restaurants and shops here in Kennebunkport that display their love for Barbara Bush. They all tell me their thoughts and prayers are with the former First Lady. Dan.
Stretching across the nation tonight. Sam Reed joining us live in Kennebunkport tonight. Sam, thank you very much. Maine Medical Center sending the Bush family and Barbara its thoughts and prayers tonight. In a statement, Maine Med President Rich Peterson says, Maine Medical Center and our Children's Hospital that is so honored to bear the name of First Lady Barbara Bush is deeply saddened to learn of today's news. Mrs. Bush and President Bush lived their lives always putting others first. Today, our thoughts and prayers turn to the Bush family during this difficult time. Barbara Bush has touched many lives in Maine, especially children and families at the hospital that bears her name. Fox 23's Kim Block takes a look at her legacy in the state of Maine.
The former First Lady's connection to Maine began when she married, as she is quoted as saying, the first man I ever kissed, George Herbert Walker Bush. She was just 19 years old, and it was 1945. That's when she and the former president began spending their summers at the family home on Walker's Point in Kennebunkport, a tradition that has continued for decades.
For instance, some of us who have 13 grandchildren who come for the summer.
I spoke with Mrs. Bush in 1995, shortly after she had learned that Maine Medical Center wanted to name its new children's hospital after her.
I said to George, isn't that the funniest thing? They came to urge me to do it. I mean, something so exciting and so flattering, as though I'd say, oh no,
No, thank you.
No, thank you. They've stretched my life.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice.
The Barbara Bush Children's Hospital is a lasting legacy to a woman who knew the pain of losing a child. She and her husband lost their daughter Robin to leukemia back at a time when family visiting hours were restricted.
It makes an enormous difference. You know, George and I had a child who was sick, and we had definite visiting hours. And it wasn't really until the very end that we were allowed to be with her all the time. And that's, first of all, it helps the child. They're frightened in a hospital, and today we now know that to have parents there makes an enormous difference.
Mrs. Bush has stayed connected to the hospital, combining her love of children with another of her great passions, literacy.
And the bear says, thanks.
Mrs. Bush reads to children at the hospital every summer and supports literacy efforts through the Barbara Bush Literacy Foundation in Maine. The foundation has donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to literacy programs all over Maine.
If we don't teach our children to read and to write and to understand, and we don't teach mothers and fathers how important parenting is, our country's going to be in terrible shape.
Over the past few years, Mrs. Bush has kept a lower profile, though she and her husband continue to be active members of the Kennebunkport community. She is often seen wearing her signature pearls, even donating a strand to the George and Barbara Bush Center at the University of New England.
And Mrs. Bush gave us her pearls and her gardening hat that she uses to garden in Kennebunkport at the house. So they were really nice, I think, things that had meaning to them personally and tied to their life here in Maine.
A lifelong love of Maine that began when she found the love of a lifetime.
That's what George Bush has done for me. He's allowed me to have hospitals named after me and introduced me to all the world leaders. Pretty exciting.
Kim Block, Fox 23 News.
Governor Paul LePage commenting tonight on former First Lady Barbara Bush. In a tweet, LePage writes his wife Ann and he are keeping the First Lady and the entire Bush family in our prayers, adding Barbara Bush is one of a kind, and she's been a wonderful friend and inspiration to so many people in Maine. Barbara Bush is also receiving prayers and well wishes from her other home in Houston. Ahead at 10:30, how Texans are remembering her legacy at the White House. Slick roads lead to a crash in Windham. A driver lost control in icy conditions. This happening around 9:30 this morning on River Road. Police say the driver skidded into an electric pole, which then snapped in half. The driver suffered a minor injury, but is expected to be okay. This weekend's wintry mix is expected to continue into tomorrow as we check in now with meteorologist Adam Epstein. Adam, you're tracking some potential trouble for the morning commute.
Dan, it's only going to get worse from here. Today was just an appetizer. Tomorrow will be the main course. We're going to have some icy weather to kick off the day and then heavy rain and gusty winds to end it. Right now, we're falling below freezing, and this is about where we've been the whole day. Temperatures aren't changing much because of the clouds. And with those freezing conditions at the surface, there could be some ice buildup, especially on grassy surfaces, and definitely your car. A lot of colors on the satellite and radar, and it's not looking too good for us. It's deceptive, the prettiness here. But with those pinks and purples coming our way, that's sleet and freezing rain. And it's already reaching parts of southwest York County. This will be getting towards Portland in an hour and through central Maine by around midnight. It'll continue through the overnight hours, and that's why things are going to be real bad tomorrow morning. That's the worst part of the day with sleet and freezing rain. In the afternoon, that will change over to plain old rain from the south to the north. So if you're on the coast in southern Maine, you're looking okay. It shouldn't be freezing rain by 8 a.m. Should be changing over to plain rain by then. Gusts near 40 miles per hour. We'll have to watch out for power outages. And by the evening and nighttime hours, heavy rain and strong wind gusts persist. We're looking at a soaker tomorrow. Coming up in the full forecast, we'll talk about just how much rain that'll be and when we could see the sun again. Dan, back to you.
3 weeks into April now, Adam. Thank you very much. On the Crime Watch, a SWAT team is activated and a man under arrest after a domestic violence incident and standoff in Scarborough. Police say they were called to Manson-Libby Road at around 12:30 this morning. They say a 26-year-old woman claimed her boyfriend said he would shoot her in the kneecaps if police showed up. Once officers arrived, she escaped, only with minor injuries. Police say the boyfriend, 28-year-old Joshua Knowles, refused to walk out of the home, and the Southern Maine Regional SWAT team had to be activated there. Knowles came out 3 hours later and was then arrested. He's now facing charges, including domestic violence assault, as well as creating a police standoff. Coming up, recognizing the heroes of the Boston Marathon bombing 5 years ago.
I knew it right away. I could smell the gunpowder, and I had known from combat that exactly what it was.
How those at the race described the chaos as they jumped into action, and the event today honoring the lives lost.